It's kind of funny about how we usually interact with text these days. Like we treat reading almost like an extraction operation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, a total extraction.
Right. You sit down with an article and your eyes are just sort of scanning the paragraphs and your brain is frantically sifting through the dirt, trying to find that one golden data point you can weaponize for a presentation or a debate or whatever.
It is entirely utilitarian. I mean, we've been conditioned to view information as this raw material that just has to be mined, processed, and then deployed, as quickly as possible. The whole concept of reading just to inhabit a space, it feels almost entirely foreign to the modern professional.
Exactly. But then, every once in a while, you encounter a piece of source material that completely jams your mining equipment.
Oh, for sure.
And the text we're looking at today doesn't just resist being skimmed, it actively disarms the part of your brain that wants to work. So, welcome to the deep dive. And if you are listening to this, you, like the rest of us, are probably carrying a ridiculous amount of cognitive weight right now.
Which is pretty much the default human state these days.
Right. You might be dreading your inbox, maybe you're sitting in gridlock traffic, or, just looking for a temporary escape from the absolute avalanche of information overload that defines our daily lives.
Which really makes our focus for this deep dive incredibly relevant. Because we aren't here to dissect some controversial economic theory or analyze demographic data. We're going to explore the physiological mechanics of story talking.
Story talking, I love that term.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's the specific structural way that narrative pacing, sensory imagery, and directed focus can literally hack your nervous system. It can physically alter your state of mind.
And today's source material is this piece of immersive text called The Lighthouse at the Edge of the Quiet Sea. And at a passing glance, it looks like a simple descriptive story.
Right, just a nice little tale.
But underneath that surface layer, it operates as this super sophisticated blueprint for down-regulating the human stress response. Like, it uses language to build a cognitive sanctuary, literally brick by literary brick. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The text doesn't ask for your attention politely at all. It constructs a reality so dense, a moonlit sea, a spiral staircase, a hidden cave, that it sort of forces your current reality to take a back seat. The opening alone is this masterclass in stripping away the reader's defenses.
It really is. And we can look at this opening through the lens of cognitive load theory.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So the very first lines are a systematic dismantling of expectation. The text literally tells you, tonight, there is nowhere you need to go. There is nothing you need to finish, nothing you need to solve. The day is over now.
And I have to say, when I first read that, my initial reaction was actually this tiny spike of resistance.
Really? Like a pushback?
Yeah. I immediately thought of, 4 things I absolutely didn't need to finish. But the text operates with this incredibly calm, unquestionable authority. It doesn't suggest that you stop working. It declares that the workday no longer exists.
And that's so powerful because it is addressing what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah. So our brains have this deeply ingrained habit of remembering uncompleted or interrupted tasks way better than completed ones.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's an evolutionary survival mechanism, right? If a task is unfinished, your brain keeps a mental tab open. And it's continuously dripping this tiny amount of stress hormone to remind you to finish it.
Just constantly tapping you on the shoulder.
Exactly. We walk around with 50 of these cognitive tabs open. So by explicitly stating nothing you need to finish, the narrative functions as a system override. It artificially closes those tabs on your behalf.
That is so interesting. I kind of think of it like the task manager on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
When your laptop is just inexplicably running super hot, the fan is screaming and everything is lagging?
Oh yeah, the worst.
And you open the task manager and realize there are 20 background applications draining your memory, even though you aren't actually using them. The phrasing here, the day is over now, it acts as this sort of force quit command for your brain's background anxiety.
That's a great way to look at it.
But it's not just the vocabulary doing the heavy lifting here, is it? It's the actual typographical layout too.
Oh, absolutely. The mechanical structure of the text is doing half the work. Just look at how the author utilizes punctuation and spacing to manipulate subvocalization.
Subvocalization meaning the voice in our head when we read.
Precisely. When we read, we have an intonal monologue. Our vocal cords actually make these tiny micro movements mirroring the words.
Wait, really? Your vocal cords physically move?
They do. It's wild. And the text forces that internal voice to decelerate. It says, take a slow breath in and gently breathe out. Again, breathe in slowly and breathe out
And it formats those pauses in a way that you just physically cannot speed read those lines without feeling this massive cognitive dissonance. It acts like biological speed bumps.
Exactly. The author is using typographical pacing to mimic a slowing heart rate. And because your internal reading voice is forced to adopt this lethargic, spaced-out rhythm, your autonomic nervous system begins to entrain to it.
So the text is literally story-talking your respiration into a slower cadence.
It really is. It's physiological manipulation through literature.
That is wild. And then once it gets your physical breathing under control, it immediately drops you into the sensory environment. Like it builds the set around you.
The world-building phase.
Right. It says, the sky above you is dark and peaceful. Thousands of stars shine across the night. The moon rests above the ocean. Its silver light stretches across the water. And it even pipes in the environmental controls,
Yeah.
The air is cool, the breeze is gentle, there was a faint scent of salt in the air.
And that reliance on multisensory grounding is highly intentional because anxiety is almost exclusively a time-traveling emotion.
A time-traveling emotion. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when we are stressed, our conscious awareness is displaced. We are projecting into a catastrophic future, or we're ruminating on some regrettable past. But sensory data, it can only be processed in the present tense.
Oh, I see. Because you can't smell something in the future.
Exactly. By forcing your brain to simulate the smell of salt and the temperature of the breeze, the text yanks your awareness out of tomorrow's hypothetical problems. It anchors it to the immediate present.
And that specific detail, the faint scent of salt that really jumped out at me, because it isn't just atmospheric, it feels like a biological trigger somehow.
Well, it is. The olfactory bulb, which is the neural structure that processes smell, has a direct, unmediated connection to the amygdala and the hippocampus.
Which are the emotion and memory centers, right?
Right. Visual and auditory information has to pass through a sort of switchboard in the brain called the thalamus first, but smell goes straight to the emotional core.
Wow, no filter.
No filter at all. So simply reading the words "scent of salt" activates those pathways. It leverages your stored positive associations with the ocean to trigger a parasympathetic relaxation response.
It's just so cleverly constructed. So the text has slowed our heart rate, it's forcefully closed our mental tabs, and it's anchored our senses in the present tense.
A pretty productive first page.
Seriously. But a static environment isn't enough to hold the human attention span for long. We need a destination, and the narrative provides one immediately.
The lighthouse.
Right. You look up from the shoreline, and resting on a rocky hill is the lighthouse. Its white walls are glowing in the moonlight, and there's a warm golden light turning slowly at the very top.
And this initiates the transition from a vast, somewhat overwhelming natural environment, the ocean, into a contained, structured space. It's an essential pivot.
Why is that pivot so important?
Well, the ocean represents the chaotic, uncontrollable aspects of reality. It's vast, it's deep, it's dangerous. The lighthouse represents the architectural boundary. It's a fortress against that chaos.
That makes total sense. So you walk up the sandy path, reaching this heavy old wooden door with a lantern hanging beside it. You open it and step inside. And the sound of the crashing waves is instantly muffled by these thick stone walls.
The boundary is established?
Yes. You find yourself at the bottom of a spiral stone staircase. And as you begin to climb, the story deploys what I think is one of the most brilliant psychological reframing devices I've ever seen.
The sequence of the three windows, what's fascinating here is how it plays with perception.
It really is. The text notes that as you climb the spiraling steps, you pass small windows cut into the thick stone. Through the first window, you can only see the shore. Just the sand and the waves crashing violently against the rocks.
And if we translate this into cognitive behavioral terms, the shore represents our immediate ground level stressors.
Right, the stuff right in front of our faces.
Exactly. When you are standing on the beach, the crashing wave is the only thing taking up your visual field. In life, this is the angry email, the missed deadline, the flat tire. It is loud, it is immediate, and it feels entirely all-encompassing.
But then you keep climbing. You pass a second window. Because you are higher up, you look out and see the moonlit waves stretching out further. You aren't just seeing the violent crash on the rocks anymore. You are seeing the rhythm of the water, the pattern.
The perspective is undergoing a first macro shift. Psychologists refer to this as cognitive distancing.
Cognitive distancing?
Yeah. As you move higher, the physical distance dilutes the perceived intensity of the threat. The loud crash on the rocks is now just one small part of a much larger rhythmic system. You are beginning to see the context surrounding the stressor.
And then you reach the third window. You are incredibly high up now. You look out, and you don't just see the waves, you see the distant horizon, the line where the dark water meets the starlit sky.
The ultimate macro view.
Exactly. The chaotic shore you were standing on earlier is now just a tiny, insignificant sliver at the very bottom of your peripheral vision.
The text uses the physical kinesthetic act of climbing a spiral staircase to facilitate an internal psychological elevation.
It physically lifts you above the noise.
It does. It doesn't delete the problems on the shore, they're still down there. But by shrinking them against the vast backdrop of the horizon, it robs them of their emotional weight.
That is such a vivid way to describe it, and it drives this point home with one specific detail. Through that high window, you spot a tiny, almost invisible boat out on the dark water, and the golden light from the very building you were standing inside sweeps over it.
Right. And notice what the light does.
Yeah, it doesn't alter the boat's course. It just says, the light passes over the boat, then disappears, then returns.
Which leads to the explicit definition of the sanctuary's purpose. The text makes a philosophical declaration here that basically challenges a core assumption of modern hustle culture.
It really does. The narrative states, and I love this line, it says, you realize that perhaps this is why the lighthouse exists. Not to control the sea, not to stop the waves, only to offer a little light, a little guidance.
It's a powerful distinction.
I want to pause on that for a second because it runs so contrary to how we're taught to manage our lives. Like, we are conditioned to believe that if we are competent, capable adults, we should be able to control the sea.
Absolutely.
We think our job is to stop the storm, to build walls high enough that the waves can't reach us, to perfectly optimize our schedules so that chaos never happens.
But that illusion of control is the primary driver of chronic anxiety. We suffer from this inflated internal locus of control, believing that we are responsible for micromanaging the weather of our environments, our workplaces, and our families.
Which is just exhausting.
It's impossible. The Stoic philosophers understood this centuries ago. The quickest path to misery is trying to enforce order on external events that are inherently uncontrollable.
So by stating that this massive, ancient, enduring structure, the ultimate symbol of safety, has absolutely zero power to stop the waves, the text lifts an impossible burden off the listener's shoulders.
It redefines what safety actually is.
Yes, safety isn't the absence of a storm. Safety is simply maintaining a reliable anchor point while the storm does whatever the storm is going to do.
The building doesn't panic when a wave hits it, it just keeps turning the light. It is a profound shift from a stance of frantic management to a stance of grounded observation.
Armed with this realization, you finish the climb. You step into the top room of the lighthouse. Large glass windows surround you in every direction. The great lamp is rotating slowly in the center, washing the room in this warm golden glow, feeding into shadow, and then returning.
And you aren't alone up there.
No, you aren't. And this introduces a new element. A door opens, and an old lighthouse keeper walks up the final few steps. He has silver hair, he's wearing a thick, warm coat, and he has the most peaceful, unbothered expression on his face.
The narrative introduces the archetype of the keeper here.
Right. He looks at you and simply says, "Good evening, you found the lighthouse."
In Jungian psychology and mythological storytelling, reaching the top of a tower and encountering a wise elderly figure represents the integration of the self. You are essentially meeting your own internal wisdom.
Wow, I didn't even think about the mythological aspect of the tower.
Yeah, it's deeply ingrained in our collective unconscious. And notice that the keeper isn't frantically polishing the glass or checking dials. He is completely at peace with the rhythm of the machinery and the isolation of the environment.
So you ask him a seemingly innocent question. You ask, "Is it always open?" And he looks out at the dark water and replies, "Only at night, because the night is when people need a little more light."
Such a great line.
They sit in comfortable silence, just watching the beam cut through the darkness. And then the keeper delivers a line that I honestly had to sit and argue with myself about for a good 10 minutes.
The distinction between guidance and reassurance.
Yes. The keeper says, "People often think a lighthouse is meant to show ships where to go." He takes a breath, watches the light, and adds, "But sometimes it simply reminds them that they are not lost."
And you struggled with that.
I really did. Here is where I pushed back against the source material. My immediate logical brain flared up and said, "Wait a minute. If I am in the dark and I don't know my coordinates, I am lost. I absolutely need someone to show me where to go. A map, a GPS. How is reminding me that I'm not lost any different from giving me directions?"
On a purely linguistic level, it seems like a semantic quibble. But structurally, regarding how your nervous system interprets those two concepts, it is a massive chasm.
Okay, let's explore that chasm, because my instinct is that if I'm off track, I need an authority to recalculate my route.
And that is exactly why showing someone where to go induces a subtle form of stress. Think about it. When a GPS recalculates, what is it implicitly telling you?
That I messed up.
Right. It is telling you that you made an error, you are broken, you are incorrect, you have strayed from the optimal path, and now you must follow external instructions to fix yourself.
Oh, wow.
Directional guidance implies an external authority dictating your actions, which requires active energy and compliance on your part. It is inherently corrective.
Ah, I see. It's another task. It's basically saying, you messed up, now do this.
Precisely. But reminding you that you aren't lost, that operates on a completely different psychological framework. It is pure validation.
Validation instead of correction.
Yes. It implies that your current location, no matter how dark or disorienting it feels, is a valid coordinate on the map. You haven't failed. You simply temporarily lost your visual reference points.
So the light isn't a stern teacher pointing at a chalkboard. It's just flipping on the room light so you can see the furniture.
Yes, exactly. It illuminates the landscape so you can orient yourself using your own agency. It provides reassurance, not instruction.
And how does that affect the stress response?
Well, when you feel lost, your sympathetic nervous system triggers a panic response. You strive, you paddle furiously in random directions, you burn energy trying to escape the discomfort.
Fight or flight.
Right. But when an anchor point reminds you that you aren't actually lost, the striving ceases. You can stop frantically paddling and just conserve your energy until morning. The story uses this subtle dialogue to strip away the exhausting pressure we put on ourselves to constantly find our way.
That is just incredible. The keeper delivers this massive paradigm shift, and then he just leaves.
His work is done.
Yeah, he doesn't ask for a ticket. He doesn't hover to make sure you understood the lesson. He just tells you there's a space downstairs if you need to rest, and he steps out. You're left alone with the turning light.
And then the exploration deepens.
It does. You head back down the spiral staircase and discover a room that takes this concept of releasing control and basically operationalizes it. We walk into what feels like the sanctuary within the sanctuary.
The descent into the library.
Yes. You find a hallway with an open, heavy wooden door. Inside is a small library. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, packed with books about oceans, stars, and ancient travels. There is a crackling fire in a stone hearth. And I have to point out, the text specifically notes the smell of old paper and wood.
Again with the olfactory triggers.
I know. It's like wrapping a warm blanket around your limbic system.
The environment here is engineered for intellectual surrender. A library usually represents the accumulation of knowledge, right? A place where you go to acquire more data, more responsibility.
Like studying for a test.
Exactly. But this specific room flips that utility completely.
So you sit in a heavy, comfortable armchair by the fire. On the small table next to you is an open book. And the text does this incredible meta-narrative trick where the book you are reading in the visualization speaks directly to you.
It breaks the fourth wall within the mind.
Yes. The page says, every journey has a quiet place. You turn the thick page. Sometimes we find it by traveling far away. You turn another page, and sometimes...
And the next page is entirely blank.
Which feels almost jarring at first. I mean, up until this exact moment, the text has been a meticulous architect. It told me where to stand, what to smell, how fast to breathe, what the old man looked like.
It was controlling the entire experience.
Right. So why, right in the emotional center of the story, does it suddenly stop talking and hand me a blank page?
Because true cognitive rest requires psychological ownership.
What do you mean by that?
If the text continued to dictate every single aspect of your sanctuary, you would remain a passive passenger in someone else's vehicle. By presenting a blank page, the narrative hands the agency back to your subconscious.
Oh, that makes sense.
The author has built the walls, lit the fire, and established the safety of the perimeter, but the specific, intimate nature of your piece is left for you to project onto that blank canvas. It respects your autonomy.
It invites you to participate. And once it hands you back that autonomy, the narrative provides a set of instructions for what to do with the baggage you carried in.
The mechanics of release?
Exactly. As you listen to the fire crackle, the text explicitly walks you through it. It says, you imagine the waves, one wave, then another. Each one arrives, each one leaves. Nothing stays forever. Not the waves, not the wind, not the clouds, not even the worries that once seemed so important.
We're seeing core tenets of acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. embedded in poetic imagery here.
ACT.
Yeah. It is teaching the listener the practice of cognitive diffusion. That's learning to observe thoughts without getting entangled in them. You watch the thought arrive and leave, just like the wave.
Tells you everything passes.
Yeah?
And you can let things pass. You do not have to hold them. You do not have to carry them into the night. Tonight, you can put them down. I find the phrasing, put them down, so mechanically brilliant.
Why did that stand out to you?
Because it treats an abstract, nebulous cloud of anxiety, like worrying about a mortgage rate or a sick relative, as a literal physical object.
Objectifying the abstract is a crucial step in emotional regulation. When anxiety is a pervasive atmosphere, you can't escape it. You're just breathing it in.
Right, it's everywhere.
But when you visualize it as a physical rucksack, you gain the mechanical ability to unclip the straps and set it on the floor.
That's a huge shift in how you interact with the stress.
Furthermore, the brain frequently conflates worrying with problem solving.
Oh, I am so guilty of that.
We all are. We subconsciously believe that if we stop actively agonizing over a problem, we're being negligent.
Like, if I don't stress about this presentation, I'm going to fail it.
Exactly. The library provides a bounded, safe container where the narrative gives you explicit, sanctioned permission to be negligent for the night. You aren't throwing the worries away, you are just leaving them by the fire while you rest.
That sanctioned permission is so key. You actually drift off to sleep in the armchair in the story. When you wake up, the keeper has returned. He tells you there is one last thing he needs to show you, and he leads you down another staircase.
Moving from the tower down to the foundation.
Right, not up to the light, but down. Lower and lower beneath the foundation of the lighthouse itself. The air turns cool and damp. At the very bottom, he opens a small stone doorway.
The text is moving from the intellectual realm of the library into the primal subconscious depths.
You step into this hidden subterranean cave. The walls are encrusted with tiny crystals that catch the faint light, and there are deep, still pools of water. But the most striking feature is a large opening that looks directly out onto the sea, right at the water level.
The ocean meets the stone.
Yes. The ocean swells, push water into the cave, and then the water slowly drains back out. You sit on a stone bench beside the keeper and ask him, "Why did you bring me here?"
And the keeper's response here contains the central thesis of the entire deep dive.
He looks at the water moving in and out, smiles, and says, "Because sometimes the quietest places are the ones we discover when we stop searching."
Stop searching.
That line hit me like a ton of bricks, because it highlights a massive contradiction in how we pursue mental health today.
Oh, absolutely. We have managed to turn relaxation into a competitive sport.
Yes,
We treat peace as a high-altitude summit that must be conquered through intense exertion.
exactly. We track our REM cycles on our smartwatches, we optimize our meditation apps, we schedule our mindfulness blocks with military precision. I catch myself doing this all the time. Like, I have exactly 12 minutes between these Zoom calls. I'm going to aggressively deep breathe and achieve Zen right now, or else I've failed at self-care.
It's the wellness industrial complex. It's convinced us that peace is a product we must acquire or a destination we must hunt down.
But the keeper is saying the opposite.
Right. The keeper is pointing out a fundamental biological truth. You cannot trigger the parasympathetic nervous system through effort.
Wait, really?
No. Effort is inherently a sympathetic fight-or-flight response. Trying hard requires stress hormones. True quiet is not constructed, it is uncovered through the deliberate cessation of effort. You don't build peace. You stop manufacturing noise.
The ones we discover when we stop searching. That is just so profound. And to prove the point, the text doesn't ask you to do anything in the cave.
Yeah.
It simply asks you to sync your body with an ancient rhythm.
A rhythm that exists entirely outside of you.
All right, it's as the tide comes in, the tide goes out. The sea never rushes, it never worries about tomorrow. It simply moves. It guides your breathing to match the water. The wave enters the cave, you breathe in. The wave retreats, you breathe out.
This is the biological principle of entrainment in its purest narrative form.
Entrainment, like in training a habit.
Sort of, but physical. If you place multiple pendulum clocks on the same wall, their pendulums will eventually synchronize their swings to match the dominant kinetic rhythm.
Really, they just naturally sync up.
They do. It's a physical law. And your autonomic nervous system functions similarly. When you anchor your conscious awareness to the unhurried, relentless, billion-year-old momentum of the tide, your internal biological rhythms attempt to match that frequency.
Because it's the dominant rhythm in the room.
Exactly. The ocean doesn't have an inbox. The ocean doesn't have a 5-year plan. It just is.
The keeper doesn't say another word. The text notes, he does not need to. The ocean is enough. The stars are enough. The quiet is enough. You sit in this subterranean crystal cave for what feels like hours of absolute, unburdened stillness.
Total cessation of effort.
Eventually, it is time to truly rest. You climb back up to the main floor, and the keeper points you toward a small, cozy bedroom.
So now we are transitioning from active visualization into the final preparation for sleep.
You enter the room. There's a comfortable bed, a thick blanket, a wooden nightstand. You lie down and pull the blanket up. Outside your window, you can see the great beam of the lighthouse sweep across the dark sea, disappear, and return.
The environment is secure.
Very secure. The text performs a slow, methodical body scan, instructing you to let your feet sink into the mattress, to relax your legs, your chest, your jaw. And then it says, you do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to do anything. You can simply sleep. The lighthouse watches over the sea. And tonight, it watches over you.
That phrase, watches over you, is deploying the psychological mechanism of the surrogate sentry.
Surrogate sentry. I am fascinated by this concept. Are you saying the text is basically hacking our evolutionary survival instincts?
Essentially, yes. Evolutionary biology dictates that you cannot and absolutely should not fall into deep sleep if you are in an unsecured environment. Vigilance kept our ancestors alive.
Right, if you fall asleep in the open, you get eaten.
Exactly. But in modern life, generalized anxiety tricks the amygdala into believing there is a constant, ambiguous threat lurking just outside the perimeter. We suffer from chronic hypervigilance.
Because the threat is an email, but the brain treats it like a lion.
Right. So by vividly constructing this impenetrable stone fortress and explicitly stating that the lighthouse and the keeper have taken over the watch, the narrative acts as a surrogate sentry. It provides the all-clear signal that your lizard brain requires to finally stand down the guard and initiate the sleep sequence.
The narrative basically takes the night shift so you don't have to.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You feel so incredibly protected that you actually fall asleep within the story. But the author doesn't just fade to black here. They pull a fascinating structural trick. As you fall asleep in the lighthouse bedroom, you enter a dreamscape.
We are descending into a nested narrative now.
Like an Inception-style layering.
Exactly. A visualization within a visualization.
It's incredibly cinematic. In this dream, you are walking barefoot on an empty, moonlit beach. The sand is cool. You follow a gentle path away from the water and step into a walled garden filled with glowing white flowers. You sit on a wooden bench in the center, wrapped in complete silence, and you look up at the night sky.
The author chooses this deeply submerged hypnagogic state to deliver the most crucial emotional payload of the entire text.
Why use a dream for this, though?
Because when the brain is in a dream state, the critical, cynical faculties of the prefrontal cortex are completely bypassed. You are highly suggestible and open to metaphor in a way you just aren't when you are wide awake and heavily defended.
So the message gets past the bouncer.
Exactly. The bouncer is asleep.
You look up at the stars, noticing how vibrant they are, but also how impossibly far away they are. And the text points out a profound truth. It says, even after traveling through unimaginable darkness, the light arrives.
It is a stunning metaphor for resilience and the delayed processing of hope.
It really is. It takes the mechanical function of the lighthouse and expands it to a universal human scale. You sit in that dream garden thinking about the massive, dark ocean, and you realize, as the narrative says, everyone needs a light sometimes. Sometimes it is a person, sometimes it is a memory, sometimes it is a quiet place, sometimes it is simply the knowledge that morning will eventually come.
That realization broadens the sanctuary. It connects the listener's isolated sense of anxiety to the collective human experience.
We're all just looking for some light.
Right. And the reassurance that morning will eventually come relies on the absolute laws of physics. The earth rotates. The sun rises. Regardless of how profound or intractable the dark night of the soul feels right now, it has a strict expiration date. It is a biological guarantee.
A biological guarantee. I love that. You close your eyes in the dream garden, feeling a profound sense of connection to everything around you, and you sink into a deeper rest. When the dream begins to fade, it changes gently. You transition back to the physical reality of the lighthouse. You are sitting by the window in the top room with the keeper once again.
This is the dawn phase, the gradual integration back toward waking reality.
The atmosphere has completely changed. The darkest part of night is passing. A faint line of blue appears beyond the sea. The stars are slowly blinking out one by one. The silver moon becomes pale and translucent. It is that magical suspended hour right before the sun officially crests the horizon.
Notice what the text doesn't do here, though.
What's that?
Well, dawn usually represents the brutal intrusion of reality, right? The alarm clock ringing, the commute starting, the emails pouring in, but the narrative completely insulates you from that urgency.
Oh, you're right. The keeper just sits beside you and quietly notes, you can stay until sunrise. There's no rush. There's no impending deadline to pack up your bags and evacuate the sanctuary.
The transition out of the deep parasympathetic state is handled with extreme care to avoid triggering a cortisol awakening response.
What is that?
It's that awful jolt of stress hormones we often feel right when we wake up. The surge of, oh no, I have so much to do. The text avoids that. It allows you to linger in the liminal space.
And as you look out at the brightening sky, you notice something beautiful. The sky is getting lighter, but the massive golden beam of the lighthouse is still rotating. The text says, you know that soon the light will no longer be needed, but it will remain. Waiting for the next night, waiting for the next traveler, waiting for anyone who needs a little guidance.
This solidifies the permanence of your internal state. You might be ending the deep dive, you might be returning to your chaotic day, but the cognitive sanctuary you just built does not dissolve.
It stays there.
It remains fully operational in the background, continuously turning, ready to receive you the moment you need to return.
The keeper offers one final anchoring thought before the story concludes. He looks at the horizon and says, a lighthouse does not stop the storm. It does not control the sea. It simply offers light. And sometimes that is enough.
The profound acceptance of limitation. The realization that being enough is not a compromise. It is the ultimate victory over anxiety.
From there, the narrative intentionally begins to disintegrate. It moves from an active, kinetic journey, climbing stairs, opening doors, reading books, into total, formless stillness.
It mirrors the exact neurobiological process of losing consciousness as you fall asleep.
It tells you, the story is becoming quiet now. The words are becoming distant. You do not need to listen closely. You can simply drift.
The author is essentially unspooling the thread. The scaffolding of the story is falling away because it has successfully deposited you at your destination.
Let them float away, the text whispers, referring to the thoughts of the day. The ocean can carry them. The wind can carry them. You do not need to carry them anymore. It sinks your breathing one last time with the rhythm of the golden light touching the sea, fading into shadow and returning until there is absolutely nothing left to hold on to. Only the quiet.
It is a remarkable achievement in psychological engineering.
It really is.
It takes a highly agitated open-loop mind, systematically bypasses its intellectual defenses, physically slows its biological rhythms, reframes its relationship to control, and tucks it safely behind the walls of a surrogate century.
So when we step back and look at the entirety of this deep dive, what have we actually mapped out? Through the mechanics of story talking, we bypass the shore of our immediate panics. We climb the stone steps to gain cognitive distance.
We met a keeper who taught us the difference between needing instructions and needing reassurance.
We sat in a library and put our heavy abstract worries on the floor. We breathed with the subterranean tide, realizing that peace is found when we stop aggressively searching for it. And we watched the stars in a dream garden, remembering that morning is a physical guarantee.
We basically learned the mechanics of putting the backpack down.
We really did. And to you, listening to this right now, you have the blueprint. You don't need to be sitting in a perfectly quiet room with a meditation app to access this. The heavy wooden door, the spiral staircase, the smell of old paper, and that turning golden light are permanently installed in the architecture of your own mind.
They belong to you now.
You can walk into that lighthouse while you're sitting on a crowded subway or waiting in line at the grocery store.
Which brings us to an essential paradigm shift, and it's a concept I want to leave you to mull over today.
Let's hear it.
The text establishes as an absolute rule that the lighthouse cannot stop the storm, and it does not even attempt to control the waves. Its only function is to offer light. If we accept this premise, we have to ask ourselves a difficult question.
Okay, I'm ready.
What if we are wasting the vast majority of our life's energy trying to calm the endless, chaotic oceans of our external reality?
Wow.
What if smoothing out the sea was never our job to begin with? What if instead our only true responsibility is to ensure that our own internal lantern remains fueled and lit, patiently turning, ready to guide us back to ourselves whenever the night inevitably falls?
Because even when you are convinced that the storm has completely thrown you off course and you are terrified of the dark,
The light simply reminds you that you are not lost at all.
you are exactly where you need to be. We will leave you there for today. Find your quiet place. Let the waves move without trying to stop them. And remember to just breathe. In and out. Have a peaceful day, everyone.
Imagine a piece of literature where the author's ultimate goal, like their sole metric of success, is that you never actually finish reading.
Right. It is completely wild to think about.
Yeah, a story engineered from the very first syllable to basically dismantle your attention span and make you lose consciousness before the final page.
It completely upends the traditional rules of writing. I mean, normally an author wants to grip your attention and just refuse to let go.
Oh, for sure. They want you on the edge of your seat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here, they are actively trying to negotiate a hostage release with your waking brain.
Which makes today's source material such a brilliant paradox. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today we are examining a complete final script for a sleep story, and it is titled The Lighthouse That Remembered Dreams.
And we really have a great mission for this deep dive.
We do. We aren't just going to recap a bedtime tale for you. We are going to unpack the actual architecture of sleep storytelling.
Yeah, because it is a highly structured thing.
Right. We are going to explore how this specific script uses pacing, deliberate sensory imagery, and some surprisingly heavy emotional themes to biologically and psychologically hack the human mind.
Lulling it right into a state of deep rest. Because honestly, it truly is an architectural feat.
It really is.
Sleep storytelling isn't just, ambient white noise or some plotless drone. It is a highly structured psychological tool that is just cloaked in a narrative.
Yeah, cloaked is the perfect word for it. Every single word is chosen to trigger a specific physiological response. So to understand how that works, I want you to picture the opening scene the script lays out. You are immediately placed in a quiet night. The world has finally become still.
Which is such a powerful starting point.
It is. You are standing beside an ocean. The waves are moving gently beneath the moonlight. The wind is whispering through the grass, and you are walking down a narrow, earthen path toward a dark cliff.
The setting does a ton of heavy lifting before the plot even begins.
Oh, absolutely.
It immediately isolates you. There are no traffic sounds, no crowded rooms, no smartphones pinging, just the natural rhythmic elements of an empty coast.
And standing there on that coast is our protagonist, Clara. She is completely alone. And the script, it doesn't waste time on complex action sequences or intricate backstory at all.
No, it zooms right in.
Yeah, it explicitly focuses on very slow, gentle movements. There is a lighthouse on the cliff, and its golden light is sweeping across the dark sea.
And then there is that repetition.
Yes. The script repeats this phrase once, twice, again, and again. And underlying that sweeping light is the periodic resonant ringing of the lighthouse bell dong.
That sweeping light and that bell, they are basically the foundational pillars of the entire cognitive hack.
Okay, let's unpack this, because when I first read that opening, I just kept visualizing a hypnotist's swinging pendulum.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Or maybe like a really slow metronome sitting on a piano. The golden light sweeps, the bell rings. Doo. It really feels like the script is actively trying to physically slow down your internal clock by providing these recurring sensory anchors.
What's fascinating here is the clinical psychology behind that exact mechanism. That is what makes this so incredibly effective.
Right, because it's not just pretty words.
Not at all. When we try to calm a dysregulated nervous system in a therapeutic setting, we use grounding techniques. Throughout your day, your brain is in a state of hypervigilance.
Constantly on edge.
Yeah, it is tracking a million unpredictable variables, emails, conversations, the car braking suddenly in front of you. That keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, highly engaged.
So the brain is basically just stuck in high gear.
Precisely. So by introducing this repetitive golden light and the slow, resonant dong of the bell, the story creates a perfectly enclosed, predictable environment.
A safe zone, kind of.
Right. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, specifically stimulating the vagus nerve. It forces the brain to shift away from the chaotic, unpredictable anxieties of the waking world and synchronize with a simple pattern.
Wow.
You literally cannot maintain a high heart rate or rapid breathing if your brain is fully locked onto the slow, predictable rhythm. of those imaginary waves.
It acts as a gentle, rhythmic tether. I love that. It keeps you from floating back up into your own stressful, spiraling thoughts.
Sick.
But, that soothing, rhythmic exterior is essentially just the lobby of this story. Because once Clara steps through the old wooden door of this lighthouse and climbs the endless spiral staircase, the narrative introduces a metaphor that is surprisingly profound.
It definitely takes a darker, a more melancholic turn than you might expect from something that is meant to help you relax.
It really does. I was a bit shocked. Clara reaches the top of the stairs and enters the lantern room. But the walls aren't covered in maps or nautical gear like you would expect. They are lined with hundreds of glowing glass bottles. Blue, green, silver, golden light shining from within them. And she meets the keeper of the lighthouse, this old man with a lantern named Elias.
And when Clara asks what is inside the bottles, Elias tells her they are dreams.
Specifically, the dreams people have forgotten.
And he doesn't shy away from explaining the harsh reality of why those dreams were forgotten either.
Man, that part hit incredibly hard. Elias says people forget their dreams because life becomes loud, they become busy, and they become afraid.
It is so poignant.
It is. And then Clara finds her own bottle, a glowing golden one, and touching it unlocks a deeply repressed memory.
Right, the memory of her grandmother.
Yeah, she is 8 years old, standing on a beach with her grandmother, drawing a lighthouse in the sand. And her grandmother tells her the lighthouse shines for someone who needs to find their way home.
Such a beautiful image.
But then we learn that Clara stopped dreaming, stopped writing, and stopped wondering entirely after her grandmother died. She just became practical, dizzy, and responsible.
She locked that gentle, vulnerable part of herself away in order to survive the acute grief. And then, just the mundane busyness of adulthood.
Okay, but this is where I have to push back a little on the strategy here.
Let's hear it.
A sleep story centered on repressed grief, the death of a beloved grandmother, and the crushing, mundane weight of practical adulthood. Isn't that way too heavy?
It sounds like it would be.
Right. I mean, if you are lying in bed trying to get to sleep, do you really want to be confronting the death of your own childhood wonder?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, on the surface, it seems entirely counterintuitive. Why not just tell a story about a happy bunny in a meadow, right?
Exactly. Give me the happy bunny.
But if we look at the cognitive behavioral principles of sleep anxiety, it actually makes perfect sense. Ignoring daily anxieties or pretending sadness doesn't exist, that rarely works for a racing mind.
Because it just pushes it down.
Right. If you tell an insomniac, don't be stressed, their brain immediately highlights the stress.
The classic, don't think of a pink elephant problem. If you try to force yourself not to think about your impending deadline, that deadline is all you can see.
Yes. What this script does is far more sophisticated. It acknowledges the gentle melancholy we all feel late at night.
That quiet 2 a.m. feeling?
Right. When the house is quiet and the distractions of the day are gone, that is when the grief, the regret, and the feeling of missing out on life all creep in.
Yeah, they really do.
The story validates your quiet nighttime anxieties. But it doesn't just leave them hanging out in the open. It safely contains them.
Oh, it puts them in the glass bottle.
Exactly that. The heavy feelings are acknowledged, but they are physically contained within beautiful glowing glass bottles in a safe, magical room guarded by a wise old keeper.
That is so clever.
It takes the abstract terror of existential adult dread and makes it manageable, beautiful, and safe to observe from a distance.
It is a brilliant reframing. It is basically whispering to you, yes, you are sad, you are tired, you have lost things, but look how beautifully we can store that sadness for the night. But merely storing anxiety isn't enough to actually induce sleep. You also have to actively release physical tension. And that brings us to the most crucial mechanism in the script, which is modeled for the listener through a new character named Daniel.
This is a huge shift. This is the turning point where the narrative moves from emotional containment to active physical release.
Yeah, because Clara isn't alone with Elias for long. We hear slow footsteps on the spiral staircase. Step, step, step.
Very methodical.
Right. A man named Daniel appears in the doorway. He is wearing a wet coat, he has a pale face, and these deeply tired eyes, and he is desperate. He wants to steal Clara's golden dream to open what he calls the door to yesterday.
He really represents a person entirely trapped in the sunk cost fallacy of their own past.
He wants one more day with someone he lost, his sister Anna. He has spent his whole adult life trying to force his way backward to bring her back.
It is heartbreaking.
It is, but Elias gently tells him that he cannot go back. And Clara realizes Daniel doesn't need to steal her dream. He needs to remember his own.
Which is a huge breakthrough for him.
Yeah, and when he finally stops trying to force a solution, a memory returns to him. He remembers Anna laughing, running through a sunny field with a brilliant red kite.
A great visual.
Clara tells him Anna doesn't need him to stay trapped in the past. She tells him he needs to live. Daniel touches a red bottle, briefly sees Anna on the beach, and she echoes that command. She tells him to go live.
The realization is powerful, but the script knows that cognitive realization isn't enough to release deep tension.
Right, knowing you should relax doesn't actually make you relax.
Exactly. So it revisits him a few moments later to show the physical manifestation of letting go.
And this is the sequence that completely blew my mind. Here's where it gets really interesting. Later in the story, Clara visits Daniel again in this sort of in-between dream space.
Right.
He is sitting by an open window, looking much older, and he is physically clutching that red kite from his memory. He remembered Anna, and he got stuck again, just holding onto the memory of her with a white-knuckle grip.
Still trapped.
Yeah. Clara tells him to honor her by living. And Daniel finally opens his hands. He physically lets go of the red kite. He watches it fly out the window up into the sky until it is just a tiny red dot. And only then does his face soften into peace.
It is a vivid visual metaphor for surrender.
It really is. When I was reading this, I couldn't help but compare that emotional release to the physical act of progressive muscle relaxation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you purposefully tense up your shoulders, clench your jaw, make tight fists, and then you intentionally release them, feeling the tension drain out of your muscles.
That is exactly what it is doing.
Daniel has had this death grip on his grief. He is emotionally and physically clenched. Releasing that kite is the narrative equivalent of unclenching your jaw. He unclenches his mind so his body can finally rest.
It is an incredibly potent biological cue embedded right in the middle of a bedtime story. I mean, think about what is keeping someone awake at 2 a.m.
It is Daniel's problem.
Exactly. The listener is gripping tightly to a conversation they had 5 years ago, or a mistake they made at work, or the profound grief of losing someone. They are lying in the dark, physically tense, holding on to their own red kites.
Wow, yeah. We are all just sitting in the dark, holding on to our red kites, refusing to open our hands.
And Elias makes the thematic core of this explicit when Clara asks what the lighthouse really does. He says the lighthouse isn't really about sleeping at all, it is about waking up.
Waking up to life.
Yes. It reminds people to wake up to the life that have been waiting for them all along. By having you watch Daniel let go of his tension, it subliminally grants your own brain permission to put down the heavy baggage of the day.
It totally gives you permission to mentally clock out. But, okay, here is where the script pulls off its wildest maneuver.
It really takes a turn here.
It does. Once Daniel's emotional tension is released, and you are presumably feeling a bit lighter, the story doesn't just neatly wrap up. It doesn't follow a standard 3-act structure to a logical conclusion.
Not at all.
Instead, the mythology of the lighthouse drastically expands. The whole narrative fractures and shifts from a linear, logical progression into something incredibly surreal and disjointed.
The strict boundaries of reality just completely dissolve.
They evaporate. Elias passes his golden lantern to Clara, and she becomes the new keeper. Suddenly, a 10-year-old girl named Lily arrives at the door, mourning her mother.
Out of nowhere.
Right. And through a series of bizarre reveals, we find out Lily is actually Clara's future granddaughter. The script tells us the lighthouse doesn't exist inside normal time at all. It exists somewhere between yesterday and tomorrow.
It abandons the chronological rules of daytime reality entirely.
Then, to save the fading light of the lighthouse, Clara has to visit something called the First Dream behind a dark door, where she finds a young version of Elias. She learns that Elias's own daughter dreamed up the lighthouse to begin with.
It's so layered.
So layered. The next second, Clara is suddenly transported to a village bookstore called The Dreaming Lantern, run by a woman named Margaret. And Clara realizes she has to sit down and write the very book we are currently experiencing to keep the magic alive.
It is a full-on paradox.
Yeah. And I have to ask about this time loops. Future granddaughters. The creating the creator. Doesn't this kind of complex Inception-style plotting stimulate the brain way too much for a sleep story?
This raises an important question, actually, because if you were fully awake, yes, it would absolutely stimulate you.
Right, I'd be trying to map it all out on a whiteboard.
Exactly. But this points to the neurobiology of how the brain actually transitions into sleep. Think about the hypnagogic state, that liminal space, right on the very edge of falling asleep.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever paid attention to your thoughts in that moment, you will notice they stop making logical sense.
Oh, definitely. You will be thinking about paying your electric bill, and suddenly you are convinced that a giant tortoise needs to sign the check, and your brain doesn't even question it.
That is dream logic in action. When we are awake, our prefrontal cortex is in charge. It demands linear progression. A causes B, which causes C.
Making sense of the world.
Right. But to enter REM sleep, that logical analytical part of the brain has to power down, handing the reins over to the amygdala and the hippocampus, which process abstract emotions and memories.
Oh, wow.
So by intentionally blurring the edges of reality, by introducing future granddaughters and paradoxical time loops, the script is artificially mimicking the onset of the REM sleep state.
So it is feeding the brain the exact kind of nonsense it expects to see right before it shuts off.
It is forcing a cognitive decoupling. If the story remains entirely logical, your prefrontal cortex stays engaged. It tries to predict the next plot point, solve the mystery, or analyze the character motivation.
It stays awake doing a job.
Exactly. But when time stops making sense, your analytical brain gets overwhelmed. It essentially says, I cannot track this chronological puzzle anymore. I surrender. And that surrender is the physiological prerequisite for falling asleep.
It is like the script is holding your hand and slowly walking you across the border from daytime reality into a dream state, using the plot as a diversion tactic.
That is a great way to describe it.
And this complete dissolution of logic sets up the script's final and arguably most vital trick. The moment where the story literally steps out of the pages and directly into your bedroom.
The breaking of the fourth wall.
Yes. Clara realizes that her childhood dream wasn't to live in isolation in a lighthouse. Her dream was to tell stories that make lonely people feel less alone.
Which is beautiful.
It is. Her golden dream light fades into the ocean because she realizes dreams are meant to be shared, not hoarded in glass bottles. And right at that moment of beautiful narrative resolution, the script pivots completely.
It is a massive shift.
It stops telling Clara's story. It abandons the third-person narrative altogether.
It transforms from storytelling to active, direct guidance.
Yeah, the text actually reads, and perhaps one day you may see it too. Perhaps on a quiet night, when the world becomes still, you will close your eyes. You will hear the sound of waves.
It is so direct.
It starts speaking directly to you, the listener. It commands you to let your thoughts become quiet, to listen to the imaginary waves. It feels exactly like the gentle fade out at the end of a really great song.
Oh, I love that comparison.
The realization hits you that the story we just read is the story Clara wrote in that bookstore to help people sleep. The narrator stops being a distant storyteller and suddenly becomes a soothing guide sitting right next to your bed.
The mechanics of that shift in pronouns are just brilliant. Moving from the third-person narrative about Clara and Daniel to the second-person, you, is a profound psychological transfer of energy.
How so?
Well, for 15 minutes, the listener has watched Clara and Daniel find peace, resolve their deep-seated grief, and let go of their physical tension. By suddenly shifting to you, the script takes all of that accumulated peace and effectively transfers it directly onto the listener.
It is like handing the listener the golden lantern.
It is. It says, they found their peace, they let go of their kites, and now it is your turn. It also uses incredibly suggestive clinical language in this final phase.
Like what?
Phrases like, let your thoughts become quiet, or the day slowly drifts away. It is no longer suggesting relaxation through metaphor. It is directly instructing your nervous system to shut down, using the safe, contained environment of the lighthouse as the backdrop.
And it ends by bringing back that recurring, grounding motif from the very beginning. The final bell rings. Dong. The golden light passes over the ocean, the waves become softer, and the guide tells you that your dreams are finally finding their way home.
It is so cohesive.
It is an incredibly hypnotic, sensory-rich package that brings everything full circle.
It really proves that sleep storytelling isn't just about being boring. It is about taking profound human experiences, grief, hope, memory, the feeling of being overwhelmed by life, and using narrative resolution to trigger physical relaxation.
It is functional art.
Exactly. It creates a space where you feel seen, validated, and ultimately safe enough to finally close your eyes.
It gives you a physical place to put your anxieties so you don't have to carry them into your sleep. And that actually brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with.
I'd love to hear it.
Something to mull over the next time you are lying awake in the dark, struggling to shut your brain off. The script suggests that when we forget our dreams, they don't die. They wait for us in this beautiful lighthouse guarded by an old keeper.
Right.
So what if the very act of going to sleep isn't just a biological necessity? What if it isn't just about resting our tired physical bodies, but taking a necessary nightly journey?
A journey to where?
A journey to visit the parts of ourselves, our old hopes and forgotten wonder, that we are simply too busy, too practical, or too afraid to listen to during the loud hours of the day.
That is a fascinating perspective.
Maybe we aren't just turning our brains off. Maybe we are going back to check on the things we have left behind.
A lighthouse waiting just beyond the darkness of the conscious mind.
Exactly. Think about that the next time you close your eyes and let the imaginary waves roll in. What forgotten dream is waiting for you in a glowing glass bottle? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It has been great.
It has been an absolute pleasure unpacking the architecture of sleep storytelling with you. We hope you will join us for our next exploration, where we will dive into another fascinating corner of the things that shape our world.
Until next time.
Until then, just remember, somewhere out there, a golden light is sweeping across the water. Once, twice, again, and again. Sleep well.